Brodes Media.
I'm not going to go overboard here. I'm not going to lose my mind or go to some sort of extreme. I saw the reactions last night, and a lot of people despise Doc Rivers. Why? Because Furkan Korkmaz was in the starting lineup, and on top of that, they struggled against the zone. I hate to break it to you, but not every time a loss happens do you have to blame the head coach for the loss. Eric Spoelstra is a good coach. Greg Popovich is a good coach. Look how many losses they have on their resume, right? You think about Eric Spoelstra so far this year, who have the Miami Heat in a good position. Think about having over 20 losses. Does that mean Eric Spoelstra on every single one of those losses was the reason you can point the finger at him and say he sucked and he's just absolutely pathetic? No, I don't care if you started someone else over Furkan Korkmaz. You weren't winning that basketball game. Now, I don't love the amount of love that Korkmaz gets, but there is truth to what Doc said after the game, and that's the fact that we needed a secondary ball handler for our secondary unit. If Shake Milton was to start, then what do we have off of the bench to give us some sort of stability with the rock in the hands? And you're going to act as if you insert Shake Milton instead of Furkan Korkmaz and you were beating the Heat? I do want to respect the way the Sixers played because they did creep back in. 5 points. They made it interesting. You thought, are they really going to pull this off? Are they really going to battle that hard and find a way to win by 2 and then we all go crazy? Like, is that serious? Tyrese Maxey making some shots. He finished with 3 17 points. At times, I wish he was better distributing the basketball, but, he's trying to play a new role and he's trying to be that go-getter when James Harden is on the floor. And now that you have to play 48 minutes without him, it changes that style that you're trying to get Tyrese Maxey to play with. It's a very difficult task, no doubt about it. So, yeah, they played hard and they had the intensity there. They were just undermanned, and they were also a bit tired based off of all of the circumstances leading up to seeing the Miami Heat last night, and that's okay. It really isn't a coaching problem. Oh, the zone, they can't beat the zone. They didn't have the players to beat the zone yesterday. They didn't have the players. Joel Embiid's getting triple teamed out by the three-point line. Tobias Harris can't even make a simple pass to get him the ball into the post. Whenever they did get him the ball at times, the shot clock was winding down, and you're forcing him to take a more uncomfortable shot. Not that he has any uncomfortable shots because it's Joel Embiid, but not his preferred spots. Now, they tried to open up the game for him a bit, where they would work farther away from the post and maybe from the elbow area, and he did get to the line a handful of times. But still, when you just have Joel out there, you can see the difference on everything surrounding the squad. And I'll be honest with you. I know I harp on it a lot. Matisse Thybulle is a problem. People are talking about, when James Harden was in the lineup against Cleveland, you could tell that Embiid was bothered, and Embiid only had, 20-something points or so, low 20s. He didn't look like he was himself. That's because you don't have to respect Matisse Thybulle. Another game with 0 points. So here's a starter with 0 points again. A starter, 0 points again, without even James Harden in the lineup to make up for the deficiency, to make up for the scoring. Without James Harden in the lineup, one of your starters just gives you a big old goose egg. There's a reason why he's so wide open. I actually had a Miami Heat fan who didn't watch too much Sixers basketball reach out to me and say, Brodes, do people always leave Matisse Thybulle this wide open? Yes. There's a reason why Embiid's starting to get a little bit annoyed, and he's starting to show it a bit. The guy does nothing for you offensively. If you don't think that plays a role in why Joel Embiid is getting the looks that he's getting defensively, you do shrooms. You do mushrooms. You do drugs. You love acid. It's just that simple because it's so obvious to the eye on how much of a problem Matisse Thybulle is offensively. And there's a big snowball effect. Tyrone and I were talking about this yesterday on The Fanatic. If someone gets beat defensively, let's use Tyrese Maxey as an example. Because against Cleveland, Okora's out there scoring buckets in the first quarter, and he's making you look like a cone out there, and he's just driving by the cone. It's easy to blame the help defender after the initial defender gets cooked and gets waxed. That's what the eye sees. Oh, Embiid, he's not giving you defense. Oh, Embiid, he's not sliding over. Oh, Embiid, he's not contesting the shot. Yeah, I don't want my big man to pick up all these fouls in the first quarter against the Cavs when we know we're going to need to utilize him down the stretch, and we know his presence is so felt and so damn needed. The problem was Maxey getting annihilated. Sometimes it's more than just what you see at the end, is my point. When you think about why Embiid can't get going, why Embiid's having tough moments, well, look at the way the team is playing them and forcing it to be a living hell because you can disrespect a Matisse Thybulle. But you're also going up against a team that understands how to make Joel work. And Eric Spoelstra, very good at his job, and he put his team in a great position to force them to beat you in other ways. And you can tell when you're shorthanded, they just didn't have those options. And that's what you kind of chalk it up to. I know it's somewhat cliche, but it really stands true. It's somewhat of a write-off loss. This was a scheduled loss that you had written down anyway. I'm not going to tell you anything changed. My mind did not change because guess what? When you think about what this team needs to do to win a championship, will this ever be on their radar? Win a second half of a back-to-back when flying to Miami, get in at 3 a.m., play without James Harden, and then you need to do that in a 7-game series against the Miami Heat? No. So that's why I have the approach that I do at times, that the NBA regular season, sure, there are things that you can notice and there are takeaways on a night-to-night basis. But in terms of the full context, what we witnessed last night will never be a scenario that we need on a road to a championship and to a Larry O'Brien trophy. Now, if you say, well, maybe if Joel Embiid can't stay upright or if James Harden has a hamstring, that's fine. But if you lose those pieces, you're not winning. There's a reason why we said go get James Harden, because you weren't good enough as currently constructed prior to the trade with just the Joel Embiid. There's a reason why you traded Ben Simmons and brought James Harden in. You need both of those players to be on the floor for that chance to be as high as it is. And I'm not worried about James Harden. This is a maintenance day and something that they're focusing on for the long run instead of just this specific individual night. And I'm totally okay with that approach. But I wonder what we're going to see with the Joel Embiid experience, just based off the fact that you could tell there's a lot of miles on the tire so far. You've asked him to do a lot, especially before the trade happened. You demanded him to be a lethal weapon for you and carry everyone. I'm a little surprised to see 36 minutes, to be honest with you. 36 minutes, second half of a back-to-back. Was there a way that you could have distributed it better? Maybe, but also keep in mind, you wanted to win that Cavs game. Imagine if Doc Rivers told you afterwards, we didn't really care about the Cavs game, though, so I leaned back a bit on his minutes because I was focused on Miami. The same people would be outraged that Doc Rivers ever made such a comment, and you have to be focused on winning that game in Cleveland before you can think ahead. So you can't have it both ways. But, you see 36 minutes, and you can read the body language. I'm just surprised that it got to that point. Maybe you could have distributed it better, but this is more just after I see it. It's easier said than done, and I'll perfectly admit that. I'm okay here. I can be honest and say, yeah, after I saw how it played out, now I'm having those thoughts. I don't know if I would have necessarily had those thoughts prior, but maybe it also hurts me, and there's so much pain in my stomach when I'm witnessing Paul Millsap takes shots that's hitting off the back of the backboard. Excuse me, not the back of the backboard, the top of the backboard. He took a corner three, and it's hitting the top of the backboard. We would take 1,000 shots in an NBA game and wouldn't even get to that level of atrocious. Now, with Tobias Harris, see, he had moments that are okay. He did. He had moments that were okay. And then he's got moments that make me want to pull my hair out. And you know how important my hair is. If you have it bald, Brodes, you don't have Brodes. Imagine if I was bald. I'm not the same person. Even with the same mannerisms, even with the same facial expressions, even with the same voice and the same tone and the same body language, with it all. If I'm bald, I'm Hunter. Come on. I'm Hunter. Yeah, I can't be ripping my hair out. But that's what Tobias Harris does. There's moments where I feel he's in a nice spurt, and he gives you a couple nice points, and he attacks and gives you 4 points within a 40-second span, and you like the aggressiveness. But then there's times where he can't make a simple pass. Like, I'm eliminating that for my offense. Tobias to Embiid. I'm eliminating that. First off, I don't know how you could be that bad in that area, but he is. And there's a disconnect big time between the two. I think when you study the way that Joel Embiid reacts to this, he's fed up with it. Dude, make the damn pass. Could it be that hard? Is it that difficult? Get your best player the basketball. Think about how hard it is to establish post presence. Even at 7-2. I don't care who you're going up against, no matter who it is. Now, last night, Miami obviously has some players in Bam and just the way that they play in general. They're a tough squad that force you to put in a lot of effort. But it doesn't matter if you're playing a small center and a team that likes to go small. Just the fact that you have to utilize all that energy to get yourself planted, to put your feet in the dirt down low, and then say, yo, give me the damn basketball. When you do that over 48 minutes, it's toxic on your body. And imagine doing it over and over and over again, but then your damn teammates can't even get you the rock. That's brutal out of Toby. And I'm someone who's a little bit easier on Toby than everybody else. But that's a simple part of the game. And that's what irritates me the most. We're talking about a simple play. Pass the basketball. And speaking of simple, that's all we're asking, Toby. Right? Like, I feel like it would be harder if I'm demanding him to be something he's not and say, take over games and give me 40 points. Well, then I'm just out of touch and I'm out of line. We're saying be a catch and shoot guy. We're saying stand in the corner and space the floor as a 4 and then just take the damn shots instead of dribbling. Less dribbling, less putting the ball on the floor, Toby. Simplify your game. The more you simplify it, the better the results. Right? It would be different if we're saying, dude, can you go beat every defender off the dribble, please, and dribble penetrate, please? Then we're totally not pursuing this the right way.
Well, here's my thinking is they've kind of been living on the edge lately with the Cleveland game and now the Miami game. Every team in the NBA goes through a bad stretch or a stretch, but they're still winning games even going through bad stretches. Now, last night, Harden didn't play, and they didn't have the energy level coming back off a back-to-back, and that comeback had to be massive against Cleveland. So let's see what tomorrow night brings with Chicago before we start not panicking, but, getting a little concerned.
Yeah, and I think that's fair to bring up the emotional side of winning that game in Cleveland. Not only did they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they were emotionally ready after that first quarter, of course, to kind of make the push that they did, but that takes a lot. It's a lot of energy to come back from 20-plus compared to a rout victory where you just win from the first quarter on, and you just kind of go through the motions, and your shots are getting they're hitting and everything's kind of smooth and gelling compared to, all right, we got to dig deep. We got to dig our heels in and make sure we come back. That takes a lot more physical energy. It takes a lot more emotional energy, and that snowballed, no doubt. Here's my problem with the Chicago thing, and I know you're not putting so much emphasis on it as you just alluded to, but I can make the argument that the third game on the fourth night may be even more toxic on the body than the second half of a back-to-back after a 3 a.m. flight to Miami. So, we just mentioned how the fatigue is settled in on that game. It's possible it's even worse. 3 games in 4 nights in the NBA is brutal to go through.
Yeah, it is. But I think they'll win because they seem to match up really well with Chicago for some reason.
They absolutely do. Here's my fear, though. They've been beating them so much that Chicago is due.
That's true too. But let's get Harden in there tomorrow night. Now, if anybody's going to have energy, he should, even though the rest of the team might not. And his energy might pump up the crowd and get everybody going. Because I think pretty much they're sold out for the rest of the year, aren't they? Since Harden came along.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would imagine so. And thanks so much, Frank. That's a great call. You're a great caller. Thank you for your time for sure this morning. But yeah, I mean, in terms of it's going to be no matter what, even if it's technically not right now, which it is. Then people end up buying tickets on secondary markets and end up going, but those tickets are bought anyway from other people, so they're already purchased. And yeah, it's sold out. It's sold out. It's sold out. It's just that simple.